America is the land of the free. But what if I told you there are towns where that freedom stops? Places right here in the United States where the streets are empty, the buildings are silent, and you are forbidden from ever going inside. These aren't just old ghost towns. They're places with dark secrets, strange legends, and real-life disasters the world wants to forget. Today, we're ignoring the warning signs to find out what really happened in the forbidden towns you're not allowed to enter. First up is a town so dangerous the government literally erased it from the map. This is Peacher, Oklahoma, once a busy mining town, now known as America's most toxic ghost town. In the early 1900s, Peacher was booming. Its mines produced more than half the lead and zinc used by the U.S. in World War I. But all that success came with a terrible price. The work left behind giant mountains of toxic mining waste called chat. These gray, gravelly hills, some 200 feet high, were filled with deadly amounts of lead. When the mines closed in the 1960s, the pumps that kept them from flooding were turned off. Soon, poisoned water started leaking out of the ground, turning Tar Creek a sickening red color. Before people knew the danger, kids used the chat piles as playgrounds, while toxic dust blew through the town every time the wind picked up. By the 1980s, the horrible truth was obvious. The Environmental Protection Agency declared the town a Superfund site, one of the most hazardous places in the country. The health problems were devastating. A study in 1994 found that 34% of local children had lead poisoning, which causes permanent brain damage. The government tried to buy everyone's homes, but many people didn't want to go. Then, in 2008, a massive tornado tore through Peacher, destroying more than 150 homes and sealing the town's fate. That disaster sped up the final move-out, and in 2009, the town was officially shut down. Today, Peacher is just a skeleton. Steps lead to homes that are no longer there, and those creepy chat piles still watch over the empty streets. It's a chilling monument to a town that was poisoned to death. What if the ground under your feet was on fire? Not just a small fire, but a massive underground inferno that's been burning for 60 years and could burn for 250 more. That's the reality in Centralia, Pennsylvania, a town consumed by a fire that will not die. It all began in 1962, when firefighters intentionally set a landfill on fire to clean it up. What they didn't know was that a hidden opening in the ground let the fire spread to a huge vein of coal in the old mines beneath the town. The fire went underground, and it never went out. For decades, residents were living on top of a slow-motion disaster. By the early 1980s, poisonous gases like carbon monoxide were leaking into basements, and roads started to buckle in steam. The scariest moment came in 1981, when a 12-year-old boy named Todd Domboski was almost swallowed by a 150-foot deep sinkhole that suddenly opened up in his own backyard, spitting out a cloud of hot steam. That incident finally got the nation's attention. It was obvious the town was unsafe. In 1983, Congress set aside $42 million to move everyone out. Most residents took the money and left. Their homes were torn down, leaving an empty grid of streets. In 1992, the state officially condemned all the remaining houses. Centralia's creepy landscape of smoking ground and cracked roads was a direct inspiration for the horror movie Silent Hill. Today, only a few people are left, holding out in a town that technically doesn't exist. The fire keeps burning beneath them, a quiet, underground apocalypse that will smolder long after we're all gone. Not all forbidden places are caused by accidents. Some are off-limits for a much spookier reason. People believe they're cursed. Hidden in the woods of Cornwall, Connecticut, are the ruins of Dudleytown, a village with such a history of tragedy that it was abandoned and is now illegal to visit. The legend starts in England, with a nobleman named Edmund Dudley who was executed for treason in 1510. The story goes that a curse was put on his family, and it followed his descendants all the way to America. In the 1740s, some of those descendants helped found a new settlement, and they supposedly brought the curse with them. From the start, the town, unofficially called Dudleytown, seemed to have bad luck. The rocky ground was terrible for farming, but their problems went way beyond that. There were stories of settlers going insane and taking their own lives. One of the founders, Abiel Dudley, was said to have lost his mind. Another local woman, Mary Cheney, reportedly hanged herself. Historians argue that these stories were blown out of proportion and that the town died for simple reasons, like bad farmland and a failing local economy. They also say there's no real proof the Dudleys in Connecticut were related to the executed English noblemen. But the legends got a huge boost in the 1970s from famous paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren, who visited the site and declared it demonically possessed. Today, Dudleytown is on private land. After years of ghost hunters and vandals damaging the site, the owners closed it to everyone, and trespassers are arrested. Now, all that's left are crumbling stone walls being swallowed by a forest that locals say is unnaturally quiet. Our next town isn't forbidden by poison or curses, but by its incredible isolation. Imagine an entire community living in one single building, cut off from the rest of the world by a 2.5-mile, one-lane tunnel that shuts down every night. This isn't a sci-fi movie. It's just life in Whittier, Alaska. Whittier is a small town of a few hundred people about 60 miles from Anchorage. Nearly all of them live and work in one 14-story building, a former Army barracks called Baggage Towers. Finished in 1957, this giant building is more than just apartments. It's the entire town. Inside, you'll find the post office, a grocery store, the police station, a clinic, and even a church. The town school is connected by a tunnel, so kids don't have to go outside during the brutal Alaskan winters. Life in Whittier is vertical. Going to the store is just an elevator ride away. This strange setup started as a military project. The U.S. Army built the complex during the Cold War to be a completely self-sufficient base. When the Army left, the people who stayed behind found it was easier to just keep living under one roof. But the most bizarre part of Whittier is the isolation. The only way in or out by car is through the Anton Anderson Memorial Tunnel, a single lane that cars and trains take turns using on a strict schedule. If you miss the last tunnel opening at 10:30 p.m., you're stuck for the night. This forces everyone to depend on each other in a way most of us can't imagine. Because they all live in the same building, everybody knows everybody's business. While it's not illegal to visit, Whittier's extreme isolation creates a social wall that's hard to break through. It's a town you can visit, but a reality you can never truly enter. From a town poisoned by its own industry to a fire that burns forever, a cursed forest to an entire city in one building. These forbidden places show us a different side of America. They are powerful reminders of environmental disasters, strange tragedies, and the extreme ways people can live. The gates may be locked and the roads closed, but their stories are still there, echoing through the silent streets and empty lots. Which one of these towns do you think is the most unforgettable? Tell us in the comments. And if you liked this trip into the unknown, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next adventure into the world's most mysterious places.